Hey, Nancy, how are you?
Hi, good evening.
Yep, I can hear you fine. Are you all settled in and ready to go?
Yes.
Good. What do you want to talk about? I want to talk about your review.
Okay. I do have here all the comments you, Alex, Caitlin, and Michael did. And
Yep.
well, I really appreciate that Michael took the time to comment on mine since we weren't partners.
Right.
I do see that, I mean, I really like their comments because it makes sense what they're asking, what they're saying. You did mention that it was still an issue in the underground parking.
Yeah, let me pull up your work. Let's see. Well, I guess before we get into the weeds on your in your particular project, I just want to reflect a little bit on your progress, which honestly I'm delighted about. Right, I'm thrilled that you've made this sort of jump. You've crossed the threshold, right, from the B family to the A family, and that's a significant jump. And so I just want you to know that. I mean, I suspect that you know that. Or from my perspective, that jump is also. I mean, it's kind of quantitative, and it's based on the delivery of content that we expected you to deliver, and the management of excellence in that delivery. So that's the one thing. The other thing that I think allowed the needle to move forward or up, if you will, for you is how meticulous you were in the presentation of the material, but more importantly, and I hope I talked about this because I don't have my type statements about you in front of me, but Nancy, you were one of the people that kind of taught us about your project. So the tone, the delivery, the way you explain things, even the bubble slab idea, which I had never honestly heard of before. So you were patient about that and you explained it. And I feel like your presence and your control and your poise in the project has matured markedly enough that it means that you're doing A work right now. So that's why that grade is where it is compared to where it was. And that's maybe something I hope you learn from, that you kind of that you take that kind of posture or that kind of tone when you're presenting future work, not only for December, right, but past December into your graduate studies, and honestly into your practice as you work as an architect in training where you are. So if I could say this, I anticipate that your work will stay at this higher level over the next 5 or 6 weeks, and I'm looking forward to seeing that. So this is exciting for me. Now, the new program brief, I've finished crafting the new program brief. I have sent it on to Ash to, give me the thumbs up on it.
Mm-hmm.
I sent that on to him this morning. So I told him I wanted to release it tomorrow, if not sooner. So maybe even tonight. in my mind, it's ready to go, but I want his buy-in. I want his support, right? So here's my point. The new program brief is not just, it's not just more of what you've already done. It actually has more content required of you, and there's a series of options that you can elect to help move the project up even more. And there's options in several categories so that you can pick one or two or more, depending on your time, the quality of your current work, right? And all of that. So I hope that you pick options, particularly since you're kind of straddling the B+, A- range right now. And I'm looking back at the work you did in Module 1 when Luis was in the class with us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you both got an A- for that. So you're really performing at a very high level right now. And I want to say thank you, and I want to say good job, and keep that reasonable pressure on yourself, okay?
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I just want to say presentations are really hard for me.
Really?
Yes.
Well, I don't disagree. I don't agree with you. I think you're actually very sort of easy to listen to. Yes, I know you have a Spanish accent. So I know most of us up here don't. And so we kind of maybe have to lean in a little bit. But your English is impeccable, and you are clear, and you are your pace is very even and very predictable. So I think that is serving to erase any language barrier for us. Okay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So that's the high level conversation I wanted to have. What did I say about the parking deck and getting in the weeds? What did I say down there?
It says there were still issues on the underground parking plan.
So, okay, I'm landing areas. I see the angled spaces. Oh, okay. So is that all I said?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you look at column C2,
Mm-hmm.
the column, you know, the elephant in the room, right?
Mm-hmm.
So do you see what you did at column C3 and D2, David 2? Do you see that you have the dash line work that is maybe a curb or maybe painted concrete to create that edge?
Yeah.
I think that you need to do that around C2. You may want to create a small wall there that leaves only a smaller gap for a car to get around that arrow that you've got. I just think you want that column to be more protected from drivers like you and me.
Okay.
I don't know if you heard all of that because you froze, but I said that I think you want to protect that column with a guardrail or paint stripes or a curb or bollards, right? So that drivers like you or me don't back into it or hit it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Right? It's a small problem, not a big problem. The elevators also need a room to discharge in, Nancy. They need a thermally treated room. So they need storefront glazing and partitions around it with doors into it, so that the air from, see, it's cold up here in Detroit. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah.
So that open parking area is going to be a draft. If you know, it's going to go right up those elevators and make this building cold. So we need to protect that. And honestly, people prefer to stand in a room before they enter an elevator or a hallway. So you want to protect the and this room and the doors for that room, Nancy, would have a key fob.
Okay.
Right? So if you were a homeowner, let's say that you were followed down into the parking garage by someone that you did not know. Okay? And you parked in space 24. And you scurried across the drive aisle and you got into the elevator chamber, right? With your key fob, right? You know that you're kind of safe there. And there might even be a phone on the wall for security reasons. I'm not saying you have to draw the phone and the electronics, right, for the key fob, but I just want you to know that that's kind of what happens in spaces like this and in buildings like this. So, so I think you need to add that as well.
Okay.
Are you okay on cars?
I have, yeah, I have 44 down here, and I have 6, I believe.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. Okay. And I think that's it. The dimensions on this plan are a little small. You know what, Nancy? I don't know what. So I want to say a few things real quick.
Yeah.
Move all of the north arrows to be straight up. Move all of them. But on the site plan, do one north arrow that is straight up and true north. Assumed north, straight up. True north, the angle that you've got it drawn at. Do that once on the site plan. All other floor plans, all other structural plans, true north, okay? Then you call your elevations according to that assumed north, that kind of thing, right? South, east, west, based on the assumption, right? So the assumed north is straight up and down on all of your plans, and only on the site plan do you give us a clue. That's the first thing. This is small. The second thing is on the floor plans, right? The color zoning architectural floor plan and the color zoning on the underground plan and all of those. The color zoning is a great thing. It's informative, it's helpful, but it should be maybe half that size.
Okay.
It should not be as large on the sheet as it is. The legend that says parking areas, service areas, shared areas, core, that's fine, but the plan itself can be maybe half of that size, or 3/8 of the size. Just contract it a little bit. And then try to enlarge the floor plan a little bit more. And make to the extent, here's the thing, to the extent that the floor plans are always the same size.
Okay.
From structural to architectural to HVAC. And Nancy, if the floor plans can be in the same place on each sheet.
Okay.
So that when we're turning through the drawing set, just like at your office, it's always there. Here's another thing, just so you understand, because I'm kind of old school. in a drawing sheet, you know, like this, there's hierarchy. There's hierarchy in the sheet. I don't know if you know this, but there's some areas on a horizontal, you know, landscape format 24 by 36 sheet. The most important information actually occurs in the lower right corner. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Because when you're kind of turning through the sheet, right? That's physically how we do it. So when we pull it, I need to hold it up. So when we pull it back like this, we don't want to like have to turn the whole sheet. We just want to, okay, I need that. And then we open it up. So that's why the sheet number is always on the lower right. And your architecture firm's name is on the lower right. There's reasons why that happens. Sheet titles, scales, north arrows, usually on the lower right. Change the north arrow location. But it's also why the basement floor plan comprehensive design, Nancy Rodriguez, that's why all of that's down at the bottom.
Yeah.
So I think you have that instinct. But I think, like, I'm looking at the structural sheet. I think that the structural sheet floor plan should move to the right. And I think the details should be off to the left.
Okay.
And the details should have their own, they should have their own headline, like structural details, not to scale, or they are to scale, right?
Okay.
You follow what I'm saying? So there's maybe some housekeeping work that you can do to create more of a cohesive package, right?
Mm-hmm.
I also think that some of the text for the room names, like on the floor plans, needs to be much larger, like 3 times larger than it is. It's just too hard to read.
Okay.
Is this all in AutoCAD?
Yes.
So, I mean, you just slide those M views. You draw in paper space and model space?
Yes.
Yeah, so you just slide the M views over and make sure they're in the same insert point, right? On the plot sheet, if you will. Okay. You know what I'm talking about. And I think Ash had some suggestions for you about the structural plans. You can certainly, you know, integrate those ideas into the plans. I'm just looking at the unit plans again real quick. Yeah, you know, you did a really good job on those. Did you enjoy?
Yes, I really like. I mean, this is what I've been doing for what, 9 years. So yes, I really enjoy it.
Good. Well, it shows that you have, you know, an ability to do that, and for at least have, I can see a good unit plan when I see it. So I definitely like that. So Did you do you so the two renderings that you've got, the two 3D. So I want to talk about the 3D version of the build. Is this a SketchUp model? Did you export?
No, actually, that's AutoCAD
It is AutoCAD.
also.
I had a feeling it was. And so can you maybe talk a little bit about the 3D renderings that you're planning to do, and what software that might be in? And
Well, actually, I've been since last week. I've been doing Revit models with tutorials, because actually we don't really use Revit, but I see everyone else in the class that's been using it, and they do work so much faster. And actually, Eric shared some tutorials with me that was really helpful.
Good.
And I'm trying to do that, and then I'm gonna be using 3D Max. I know a little bit of it, but I'm still I'm also doing tutorials, so I know my 3D models are not really good, but because in AutoCAD you get my computer starts failing with AutoCAD, so I'm trying to do it in some other software. That's why they weren't that good, because I wasn't able to put materials on the walls.
Right.
And
So I'm a little nervous for you, because Revit may be more problematic if your computer's chugging. Eric is sending me a note right now. Let me. Everybody's asked, like you did last week or last Tuesday, if what we're having a class. So hold on a second. Privately, and will see you in our. Okay. So that's something you want to be maybe alert to. And I don't know what your company does in terms of acquiring software, or how, if and how they do 3D renderings there, but one software that we love is Lumion.
Yes.
Are you aware of it?
I know about it. I haven't been able to get my hands on it because it's so expensive, and well, my company,
I know it is.
they don't think they can use it. I mean,
Yeah.
so they haven't. I did mention it to them, but they weren't convinced. And I know it's a really
it is
good
expensive.
program.
It is expensive, but it is very nimble. It's very easy to use. And if you could get your hands on a copy, like a student edition or something like that, your computer may not be strong enough for it, because it needs a large memory card. But anyways, I guess I can't really encourage you to go there. And I would. Are you still there?
Oh yeah, you froze. Mark?
Are you still there, Nancy?
Yes, you froze for a minute.
Okay, you did too. So what I was saying is, if you can get your hands on a copy and you have a really powerful computer, in your future, you should do that.
Okay.
Let's see. I'm just looking at all your drawings. I think Ash had some not concerns. Maybe he did. Maybe he said he was disappointed in the wall section. But I think that what I appreciated about the enclosure sheet was that it was kind of a conceptual approach or strategy to the wall section. And in my mind, actually, I wish more people like us would think about a wall section as, you know, how we actually attach materials and what they look like and what their vertical proportions might be like, and all of that stuff, and compare it to case. So I actually like the way that you approached the building enclosure sheet, but it now followed by another sheet that really kind of bears down on, right, the wall section, has all of the targets that you've got floor to floor, but then floor to sill to head to floor, that has, you know, all of the insulation, that has all of the drainage plane, that has the finished material on the outside, the finished material on the inside, and how it connects back to the sort of primary structure. So I think this was a really good start. It was like if I didn't know how to do a wall section, I would have done what you did. So I appreciated that. But I think you keep this plate and then you follow it with the more elaborate plate.
Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Didn't he say something about that in his comments with you?
Yeah, he did say about the wall section that he was disappointed. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Is your chiller going on the roof?
Yes.
So are you going to draw a roof plan?
Yeah. I just got to the 5th floor, and now, yeah. When I was presenting, I realized I should have put a roof one, so I could put the chiller and the other components that go up there.
Uh-huh. So I'm just looking at the roof. I'm looking at the 5th floor. And yeah, so I would try to position the chiller right above, I can't read the text, the exercise room.
Okay.
So when you draw the roof plan, that's where you want to put it, because it's kind of remote from the street, but also remote from, I mean, it's in the center point of the building.
Mm-hmm.
So from any sort of angle, you know, on the sidewalk, looking up, it's harder to see if it's right in the center of the entire building.
Yeah.
Chillers are usually fairly large. Chillers are usually a very large, tall thing. You know, they're on their own curbs, and they rumble because they have the fans going and they hold all that water and all of that. So you don't want a residential unit beneath it, because you don't want the activity of the chiller to disturb, you know, the activities of a family, you know, in terms of their
Yes.
their lives. I'm looking at that corner unit, that inside corner unit. How wide is that living room?
The one in John R. and Alfred?
No, it's on the inside corner at column 3D, D3.
Oh, that one
That
is.
that's actually a pretty good unit, but the bedrooms may be too big. Here's the wall, right?
Yes,
Here's
I
the
see.
wall of the bedroom. Here's the wall of the living room, right?
Yes.
I would move the bedroom wall closer to the exercise room, and I would move the living room wall up a little bit more.
Okay. Yeah.
I would give that, and you have this plan on a couple of levels. So give the living room more dimension, because that's an outdoor terrace, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't need to have the commanding view that the living room needs. The living room really needs that. Okay. What's your favorite unit in this building?
My favorite. Let's see.
I can't read the numbers, so you have to give me a column line.
Okay. Let's see. I really like the corner one. It's one of the biggest one. That's gonna be F1. It
Yeah.
has two bedrooms because both of them are looking to the street, and also the living room has a really wide view to the exterior, and it's like actually what my concept I was trying to get, like a really open space. I
Yeah.
think that's one.
I would have to agree. I would not be able to afford living in that unit, though.
Yeah,
But
I was
that's
looking, everyone was having really small units, and I thought, well, maybe I should reconsider. But I thought my units were good, but maybe they're not
yeah,
uh, the right size.
right. I think that's a good unit. I also like uh, B3. I like the remoteness of that. I like the way the entrance is indented. I like
Mhm.
entering into the kitchen the way you do, and seeing. I like having the column in the room. I like seeing that, for example. I know that happens frequently, but the proportions of that room are good. The kitchen is kind of it's unusual to the other ones because it's a galley kitchen, but it's also a kitchen that's part of the living room. It looks like it has a pantry, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
And uh, and then the bedroom suite is nice. Plus, it has a balcony uh, servicing it. So for me, and it faces west and it faces south, so that could be a very interesting unit. Are you not proposing any windows on the west wall?
No, I'm not.
Hmm. Any reason for that?
Well, mainly because I see it as the back or the adjacent wall to a neighbor, and I thought maybe I should leave it with no windows because for me that's like a limit,
But don't you
and
think
not look
that
to the neighbor.
don't you think that the don't you think that the light coming in from the west in the afternoon or the early evening would be nice? Don't you think that the ventilation coming that way, because the winds blow that way, would be nice?
Well, now that you put it that way, yes.
Right. Yeah, and
Yeah.
if I was the resident living there, I maybe would like to see sunlight, or I'm sorry, like artificial light from a window coming through, and I think that's worth looking at.
Okay, yeah, I'll do that.
Okay. Well, I don't have any I don't have any other uh, comments, really. I mean, again, I'm just really pleased with the trajectory that you're taking, and I mean, I seem to think that you're enjoying the work, and I feel like that energy is kind of like coming through. I get that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, I've been enjoying this a lot.
Good.
A lot.
Good. I'm glad. And are you a graduate student?
Yes.
So right. So where did you get your undergraduate degree again?
In Mexico, Guanajuato.
And it was like a Bachelor of Architecture, or was it a
Yes.
Bachelor of Arts? Okay. Gotcha. And is that a 5-year degree or a 4-year degree?
5.
So cinco. So you will be in our program for how long?
I'm planning to graduate in 2019.
Good. Okay, good. Well, when you graduate, if you are coming up to Michigan to walk in a cap and gown, you let me know if you're coming here, okay?
Yeah, definitely.
Cool, cool. Okay, good luck, and I'll send the programs out either tonight or tomorrow, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye. Let's see. I gotta invite you.
Hi.
Hey, Wu, how are you?
Good.
Excellent. I'm glad. Okay, let me fix you up. So I have your drawings up. I have the one PDF, and I'm looking at. I do not have your grade comments in front of me. I just have your grade itself, and I just want to say, and I said this to you the night of the review, that I want to say again how impressed I am that you're working so hard to get this right, and you've demonstrated that hard work at a number of moments along the way, in terms of like the way you've, like, from that first scheme that you had to the one at Benchmark 2, that was a big jump. And even in this package, at the most recent Benchmark, the building has evolved a great deal. So I appreciate how much pressure you're putting on the project, and probably on yourself. So I noticed that. So thank you for that. The second thing is, these drawings are really, really amazing. And I want to make sure that as you continue to evolve your work over the next 6 weeks, that they have this kind of, I mean, they're just enjoyable to look at, and I want to make sure that they maintain that kind of atmosphere, that kind of quality. Drawings are doing that, but most of them are. The plans, the floor plans are definitely doing that. Structural plans, not so much, because they're kind of technical drawings, right? And the drawings that, honestly, the drawings that need maybe the most love are the elevations, which, they should have that same kind of vitality that the plans do. So I would hope that you could bring those forward a little bit more, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my high level, right? That's my bird's eye view of your presentation from the last benchmark. The other thing I would say is, and we've talked about this before, you know, you're clearly not from around here, right? And the language is still something that you're working through. And as I said before, you're doing a much better job being a visitor in America than I would be if I were a visitor in China. I mean, I would not be able to do what you're doing. So I definitely appreciate your struggle, and I give you a lot of credit for that. The only thing I can tell you, especially if you plan on staying here, is to continue working on your public speaking. Continue to practice it, and I think that ultimately you will get better at it. So I feel good about that. Maybe some advice on how to look at the next deadline, right? And how to manage yourself at the final review is be on campus for that final review. Give it in person, okay? And talk slowly.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
I think maybe
Now,
I need to speak more about the proposal, the idea of my project.
yeah, that was kind of lost, and I think that's a good strategy. I also think, and I said this to you, Lindsay said this to you. No, you had Caitlin, didn't you? Lindsay said this to everyone, that she wishes that more people like Michael would talk about the user and the user group. And what is your position as an architect in terms of dealing with or designing a building for people that are my age, right? 55 and older. And so one suggestion, Wu, is to maybe create a plate in your package that just says, meet Mark and Tracy. Here's a picture of Tracy. Here's a picture of Mark. Here's a picture of their beagle, or here's a picture of their adult children. You know, make up a family. Maybe you know a family here that you can borrow and describe them and tell us a little bit about them. Tell us a little bit about why somebody who's 55 would sell their house, their big house in the suburbs, and move to Brush Park, and why they would want to move into your building, right? Because maybe, Wu, they're interested in sustainable building design, a net zero building design, a building design that you've created that deals with storm water management intelligently, right? Because it's important. It's important to some people that the buildings they live in parallel their own values. So maybe the couple, right? Are you following what I'm saying?
Yes.
Maybe the couple you invent, that you describe, and go back to Courtney's analysis of the baby boomers and all of those things, right? But maybe the portrait, the picture of the people you're describing are the kinds of people that you would, if you were the real estate person, if you were the realtor, you would be trying to attract, right? So maybe think of it as an opportunity to market the building. So I think that's one thing you all need to do, if that makes sense.
Right.
Okay. What else did we say in your in your critique? What did I write in your critique, or what did Caitlin say about your critique?
So my most the question is about my elevation. So yeah, so the orientation of my building is weird. So right, so I just I can fix it, but right now I just don't know what I should do. Like
So
mm-hmm.
yeah, so you and I kind of talked about this last weekend, and I did not want to be, I don't want to be you as being evasive or not committal, but really the question you raised is a really good question, and it's a question that only you can answer, right? I can't tell you what to do, but I can tell you that when you apply more value to the urban response, right, to creating an urban edge on the corner, on the street, and creating an appropriate contextual response to Brush Park and its historical architecture, then if you do that, then I think the facades that are primary, coat and tie, right, are Alfred and John R. Irrespective of sunlight and daylight and wind and rain, right? Because if you put more value on context and urbanism, urban design, then I think the building is L-shaped. And the best facades, the A facades, are Alfred Street and John R. Right? But you didn't put so much on that. You were placing value on daylighting, and that's why your glass facades face the same direction, and that's why you have two parallel bars.
Right.
So how do you translate that value system in that introductory narrative? That's going to be important, because you need to get Ash to agree with you. And in an office, right? In an office, if I was the client, you would need to get me to agree with you, because I'm handing over the money, right? I'm going to pay for your design, right? So how would you do that? It seems to me that you would maybe run a model, an analysis, a computer model on your current design, and show us what the monthly would be, or what would be, how little insulation we would need. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, if you can prove that the building design is so receptive and accommodating to not only daylighting, but in daylighting in terms of connecting to provide owners and the developer real savings in terms of energy utilization, that would be pretty irrefutable. Capiche?
Right.
So one thing I want to tell you, I finished drafting the last assignment paperwork, right? I finished that this morning, and I sent it off to Ash to look at. And so he's reviewing it, and he knows I want to send it out tomorrow. And in the final assignment, there's a lot of requirements, many of which you've already done. But there are also option items that you can elect to do on top of the requirements. One of them is a sustainability model, and the other is the ComCheck model, which is through the Department of Energy, which is software that you can download for free, and it allows you to do an analysis of the building to show that it passes the current ASHRAE energy code. So if you were to do that, for example, I would give you extra credit. But if you were to do that, I would give anybody that extra credit, not just you. But if you were to do that and make a compelling, persuasive argument that the building design, the current building design, is actually a better design because it provides the savings, you'd be able to be pretty happy about that. You could do, right? And you could do kind of like, you could do an analysis that said, look, not only is my current design superior in many ways in terms of daylighting and energy consumption, minimal energy consumption, et cetera, but if I take my current building, this is now what we would spend on energy consumption. And you can see that this is not going to be as good as this. So the cost of the extra corridor that links this to this, the cost of the traffic runs from trash to elevator to, stair and all of the stuff that's kind of like embedded in your work. If we can save money on energy, seems to me that more people are going to be delighted about that than they would be about walking. You see what I'm saying? Create an argument, create a position that explains the building in, terms where it matters. The pocketbook, right? Or energy, minimal energy consumption, which translates to end user savings on their monthly bills. That would be one way to think about it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. So I was working on the facade. Maybe you can look at it.
Yeah, but the things that I think you need to do, look at enlarging the windows as much as you can. I understand that starts to come into, like right now, it might be that the energy consumption is like this, large windows, energy consumption, and then if, I'll wait.
Are you there?
Yeah, now I'm here. And so if they're balanced right now and you say, well, I'm going to do larger windows, then the energy savings goes down. So there's got to be some equilibrium in that. Just like in terms of how the building sits on the site, you always have to find that middle ground. But I think the windows appear too small, and I would look at that. And then I think that like on Teen, there's just not enough windows. I feel like that's a facade that, since it faces north, right? Since that's the Alfred Street facade, even if people aren't living on that facade, you still want to have people, you want to see people walking back and forth. You want that facade to animate and electrify the street. So I feel like that's facade, it needs to be much more porous.
Yes.
Do you want to show me what you've been thinking about?
Yeah, sure. I can screen share with you.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, this is the north facade.
Yes, much better.
And this
Don't
is
you
the
agree?
what's that?
Do you not agree?
Oh,
It's much better.
yes. Yeah, I think so. So because earlier this facade is stronger than the John R. and Alfred Street facade, so I refined this.
Gotcha. Is it possible? Is this the Revit model?
Yes, Revit.
Can you put? It's really, really dark. Is there any way that you can lighten it?
I tried. Maybe. Let me see.
Maybe make it like June 21st.
Yes. Let me see the 19.
Summer solstice.
Yeah, right now is September, June 22.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, 9 a.m. Perfect.
Okay. Yeah, it's lighter right now.
Thank you.
So here, facade is combined by the metal and the curtain wall, and I changed the first level to the brick. Yeah, I want some change about the meshing. So, but still, this side is more stronger. Is stronger than the other side.
So this side is John R.
Yes.
So I mean, I have no problem with it. What it could it not have balconies?
It can.
Floor plans?
You mean the window here? I mean the curtain wall here, become balconies.
Don't you want to have balconies on the John R. and the Alfred Street facade? We talked about that in the original program brief.
Yes, I think I can change. I can. I was thinking about the same thing. So I can change the curtain wall become balconies. So because I have very wide corridors, I think it's okay.
Can we go to the unit plan for a second?
Yes.
Or can we go to like a typical residential floor?
Yes. So.
Oh wait, no, I can do that here. I can do that here. Let me do this.
Okay.
Oh, wait a minute. No, we cannot do that. Balconies only occur in the John R. facade to the interior court, and to the west bar it goes to the residential. Yeah, that's right, because of the way that that's handled. Right. So okay, can you go back to the model? Can you reload that? Now I got you. Yeah, now I got you.
So I'm thinking maybe I can. So here is the curtain wall. I can make this curtain wall disappear and make a balcony here around the.
That's a possibility. Yeah, that's a possibility. It might be worth looking at. I just want you to know that you have created a plan that has kind of a social hierarchy,
right,
that is somewhat unusual to, North American, probably South American, probably European values, which is that we would put the front facade of these units, the living rooms, on the street. Do you follow what I'm saying?
You mean the living room here to the street?
Yeah, and you've said no, the corridor needs to be on the street in my building because of its orientation, and that's just kind of what your project is about. I think I understand that. It's just that culturally, some people in the critic pool, in the jury pool, may just be, they may not understand. They may not understand what you're doing or why you're doing that. Right. So you have to anticipate that. Okay.
Yes, you mean more explaining. So
yeah, I do.
Yeah, I was thinking if I put the unit along the street, it will very noise. The car on the street is very a lot of noise. So I put the unit the other way and also have the daylight. So that's I would.
No, I understand that. If you can close out your model for a second, I can look at you. So some people, right? Remember the family that you're going to create the narrative for? Someone that has a big house in the suburbs that decides to smart size and move into one of your, well-designed units is saying, I want to live in Wu's building in Brush Park because it's in the city. Because I want to hear sirens, traffic. I want to know that life is happening around me. I want to be reminded of urban life because I've been living a dead life, for example, in the suburbs where you don't hear nothing all day long. So I understand what you're saying, but what you just said could be completely countered by a completely different perspective. So that's why, do you understand? So that's why I think you have to back up your building design with real value, like energy savings.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? And a developer, Wu, and I think I said this to you before, a developer is going to say to you, Wu, are you crazy? I cannot rent these units if they're not on the street. So then you have to ask you have to have that ethical question answered. Do I sacrifice the design of the building for the market? Or do I find a more effective way to educate the market, right, so that they understand the value of my design? This is the root of the problem. This is what we were talking about in our email last weekend.
Yes. So the thing I was confused is why people want to live in the around the street, along the street. Why people want to die? Actually, right now
I would.
For me, my room is facing the forest, so I feel very comfortable because I have the privacy and the greens view, and I don't have the noise about the cars. So that's.
So here's what I'm gonna. Here's my response to what you just said. Boring.
Okay.
That's boring. So here's what I mean. Tracy and I went to Cincinnati last weekend, and we stayed in a hotel right downtown, right next to the Zaha Hadid Contemporary Arts Center. We walked out the door, and it was right there. We walked out the door, walked next door, and we were in her museum, which was awesome. Here's here's the thing. We were there on Friday and Saturday, Halloween parties everywhere, outside, on the street. You know, on the way to dinner, on the way back from dinner, we came back to the hotel room, and there was a whole bunch of noise going on the street, cars honking, people in costumes, people partying. It was a celebration. Traffic going by. I could hear the trolley going by with the horn of the trolley. And I just said, wow, this is so exciting. We're seeing everything that's going on in Cincinnati right here from our window. This view is better than a TV or a video. This is the real McCoy. This is the real deal. This is urban living. And then we left to go downstairs to go get a drink. And I saw that there were rooms on the other side of the hotel that faced the backs of buildings where it was nice and quiet and serene and understated and contemplative. And I thought to myself, I would never want to have the hotel room on that side of the building because it would be dead, right? So I can argue with you from any perspective. You have to kind of like I appreciate that you're trying to bring your own sensibilities to your building designs. That's good. But it's also sometimes unfortunate. What you need to be able to do at this point in your career is to be responsive and nimble and understand the larger benefit or the larger choices that more clients might have. There might be more people that actually like the city, that like the noise, that like the morning sunrise, right? So you have to be, I think, aware that those other opinions matter as much as your personal preferences. And I actually try to extract my own preferences and my own sensibilities from the work I'm designing. And it's very difficult, but I would encourage you to become a.
Yeah, I think maybe that's the cultural issues, because in China we also put the because I was doing I did residential design in China, and it's a community, and we all the building is not facing the street and have own space. Yeah, I mean maybe it's the country.
And that's exactly what I was saying several minutes ago, that I think you have a cultural predisposition
Right.
because you're Chinese, and that's just something that we don't have. And you know, so I can appreciate that. I definitely can appreciate that. So that's kind of the beauty of having someone like you in the studio, that you're reminding us that there's another perspective.
Right. So that's the I was struggling with this.
I understand that.
So you're saying
I need to move on.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So for a lot of people in the United States will like staying a unit facing the street.
I am not saying that. I'm saying that there are people that would prefer that, and there are people that might not prefer that. Just like there are people that might not want to move to Brush Park, but then there are people that might. It's not so cut and dry. It's not so black and white. It's not binary. But if a design can have a little something for everyone, right? If design is nimble and democratic, more nimble, and more democratic, then it can be attractive to that broader base of people. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay.
So that's something to think about as you move forward. Not really for this project.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay?
Yes. Thank you.
So I'll send the program brief. Sure, of course. So I'll send the program brief tomorrow morning probably, okay?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good night.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey, Eric, how are you?
Good. How about you?
Super. How was Halloween with your kids?
Great. Yeah, I had a lot of fun.
Did it rain up there?
No, actually, it didn't rain. It's, you know, kind of spit and sputtered a little bit, but while we were out there, it didn't. So.
Right. Last year, I think last year we got rained on, and I think we had an all-time low number of trick-or-treaters, and this year, you know, I was up here running class. The Three Beagles proudly announced the arrival of every trick-or-treater team, and I think they made their announcements about 10 times. So we might have had 20 or 30 kids at the end of it all, which is unfortunate. I think everybody, like the kids your age, the age, like the kids that are your kids' age, probably trunk or treat now at the schools and do it in much more controlled environments, which quite honestly is probably better anyways, given where the world is today.
Yeah.
It's a lot different today
walking.
than when but just it's a lot more controlled and safer. And I think that's probably not a bad thing given where we are. So I don't think we need to talk a long time. I'm just here really kind of just visiting with each of you. So I'll give you the high level perspective real quick, which is all good. And then I'll get into some weeds a little bit about what's next, and then give you a chance to sort of look at things and give me feedback. But the high level sort of perspective for you is that a resounding, emphatic output for you in this last benchmark. The high marks and high praise that you got from everybody, including me, is indicative of, I think, the critics' respect for how you approached, right, the tectonics of the building, HVAC, enclosure, structure, life safety, and the occupant load and ADA accessibility and all that stuff. All the sort of quantitative things that I think defined this benchmark were something that you were like completely comfortable with. Like, this obviously is in your wheelhouse. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
So that's not surprising to me. So let me. Someone's trying to get a hold of me here. I'm visiting with each of you kind of individually here. So who's Courtney? Oh, maybe not. I don't know who that was. Anyways, the technical aspects that you must have been crafting, or the technical sort of strengths that you must be crafting, doing what you're doing, where you're doing, aligned so nicely, Eric, with what we expected you guys to all be doing in this benchmark, that it allowed you to kind of like shine and teach a lot of other people how to do it, and that it can be done easily and effortlessly. So in many ways, I think you were exemplary. It was Courtney. Hold on.
Sure.
Let me just text her. And so I feel like this was a good show. This was a really, really good showing for you. I was looking at your sort of earlier marks. You know, this was a big jump too, right? B+ to A. Usually, not usually, but frequently I've seen students move from like B+ to A-, just kind of just a sort of a soft nudge. But this move for you was, it was really significant. And I don't give A's easily, but I think the fact that you got it made it, I think, really, it was actually an easy grade to give, right? I don't give them easily, but it was an easy grade to give because you did so well in all of the things that we asked you to do. So I want to say congratulations on that. I feel like that's, you know, you may not get that from a lot of faculty members in the courses to come, but I hope that you appreciate it, and I hope that it gives you the kind of fuel and the kind of confidence that you may need or may want as you move forward. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, and I'm glad, by the way, that all of the critics, you know, felt that way, that Ash did, that Caitlin did, for example, and Caitlin is no slouch in the same categories or the wheelhouse that you are in, and she's probably a lot younger than you, although I have no idea how old you are. But in any event, the second thing that's maybe more sort of in the weeds is I finished this morning the write-up for the final assignment. And so Ash has it right now, and if to like with all of the other things, to read it and, you know, comment on it. And I told him that I was fixing to send it out tomorrow, so look for that tomorrow.
Okay.
It takes a look at the next 6 weeks in terms of enhancing the documents that you all have done up to this point. It asks for more things in other categories, and in almost every category, whether new or existing, it offers options. So basically, it's a program brief that talks about required deliverables, but it's a program brief that includes options, which are additional items that you can include that will help your mark. Okay. Right? That will help improve your grade. For example, the one section on wall sections and building enclosure has an option where you can run CompCheck, right? Which is from the Department of Energy, based on ASHRAE 90.1. It allows you to do CompCheck for your building. And so if you did that, right, I'm going to take stock of that, for example. And there's so many options that I don't think anyone, maybe you could, but I don't think anyone could do all of them. And it's not required that you do any of them, but you'd all be kind of foolish not to do at least one. But you could do a few, and that would help. That would help anybody's grade along. And it's not about the grade, but I think it's also to allow a student to maybe try something they haven't done before, or do something that they're really good at doing because it's a low-hanging fruit. So it may be that the options allow people to find something out about building design that they didn't know and jump right in, which I think they should get credit for. Like if someone ran CompCheck who had never done it before, that would be kind of cool, because then they would, when they go into your office to start working with you, then, and you give them a building, if you give them a retail center to do CommCheck analysis on, they can go, oh yeah, I know where to find that. I've done that before. And you'd go, you did? Where did you do that? Oh, we did that in the Comp Studio, right? You would appreciate that skill set, right? So it allows me to see something that maybe someone's interested in doing, and it allows me to see someone who's really trying to sort of improve their grade in a way that can be meaningful to them. So look for that in the program brief as well. But basically, I think the comments that you got, and I'm going to open up your package right now because I had it here. I think the comments you got were fair, and I think that you know, I would just keep going. I know one of the things that you could look at that I think maybe Caitlin talked about was that maybe the windows could have a finer grain. Maybe you can indicate more mullions and muntins to indicate operable windows if there are any. That would make the building grain, if you will, a little smoother, a little finer. I think the diagonal braces and columns at the ground floor give it more textural grain. Caitlin had some issues with that. However, I just saw the Cooper Union. If you fire up, can you open up your browser and fire up Cooper Union, Morphosis, New York City?
Ah, okay. Tom Main project.
Do you know that project?
Yes.
So look at the ground floor.
Yeah, that looks familiar.
Yeah, it does. Yours is more regular, right, and more structurally resolved, right, because it always lines up with things going on above, more or less. Theirs is more sculptural and random, but you can see what they do. You can see that a world-class architect in Morphosis who did the building on our campus, for example, did it a different way with a similar effect. But I also think they have some planters and benches down there at the bottom on their building that is a solution for your building. I think when you draw your elevations, maybe when you start to delineate in renderings your when you start to delineate in your renderings the final renderings your building, I would try to include more of the context, more of the existing buildings nearby, down the street, some of the trees, cars and people. Show that this building actually is resolved, show that it does fit, show in the building elevations, show the context. Maybe on your sheets, maybe only one elevation per sheet. Or maybe there's a sheet with 2 elevations like you've got it, and another sheet with 2 elevations. But then there's a sheet where there's a street elevation, like the John R. elevation that shows the buildings left and right, and then the Alfred Street elevation below that. You know, obviously at a smaller scale, so it can grab more context. But I think letting us see the building in context is a really important thing for any building that has kind of a modern essence or a modern vocabulary like your building does. So you show that you show that it comes from the context. You show that it fits the context. That's the advice that I would give you in that regard. Yeah, I mean, structural framing plan with shadows, crazy. Is it impossible to do a stair at the end of one residential corridor. Oh, it is because of the way it comes down.
Yeah, there's residential units
Into the
underneath.
3 units. Gotcha. Where is that plan again? And do you have the diagonal distance?
Between stairs?
You know that? Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, okay, good. Okay. So I feel much better now. So does that show up on your life safety plans?
Actually, it did not.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. I think you want to add like a residential plan of life safety, because that stairway, as you and I talked about, is a problem. You know, not the stairway, but standing at that standing at that dead end and knowing where it is in a smoke environment, in a catastrophe scenario. So you want to make sure that people understand that your sort of wonky approach to stair locations and the dead end corridor works, and the proof is in that pudding. Okay.
Okay.
Hey, did he have anything else?
You know what? He didn't give any written comments that I saw.
Did he? I meant in his review, in his verbal review with you.
The only thing he really brought up was about the airspace between the panels for the metal panel cladding.
Oh, in your section?
Yeah. And there was another minor thing where the floor.
Yeah, the airspace in your wall section, right?
Right.
And then the mineral wool, which is more of a European product. I mean, there is in mineral wool here, but you're using it as a board. That's kind of exotic. So you may want to enhance that drawing, or add to that drawing, or create another drawing that talks a little bit about is what it looks like, what its sort of spec intelligence or data is in terms of its R value.
Okay.
Show how it's clipped in, all of that stuff, so that you educate us about something that's sort of exotic.
Sure.
And I think that's really all I want to maybe mention. This class, so this class, Eric, is really well suited for someone like you, who, you strike me as someone who's kind of efficient, decisive, and those qualities, I think, allow you to sort of move through the kinds of buildings you've designed and the kinds of buildings you work on at your office pretty well. I mean, I think that you're probably kind of like a high performer there, and you're obviously producing level here in this classroom. And so this class is really just right for you. And so this is perfect. However, like if you look at the Cooper Union, right, the thing that we just had up on the wall, that is also architecture, and that comes from the same kind of process that we're going through right now. And I hope that, and this is sort of what I was talking to you about in your first benchmark, I hope that, given that you have this luxury of being in school right now, that you take advantage of that in Advanced Design Studio 1 and 2. That you do something that's a little bit less like work and a little bit more like what you might find in a magazine from one week or month to the next. Not to do that kind of work just for its own sake, but I'd like you to explore more diligently what architects like Morphosis are doing and why. And maybe find an architect whose work you admire and just start to learn more about them. And I think I said that to you. So I would encourage you to, while you have the time in school, because they're not going to pay you there to do that, while you have the time in school, take advantage of that time. Because I think it'll enhance your architectural vocabulary. That ultimately is what I was trying to say then. That's sort of what I'm trying to say now. But for right now, this is where we want you to be.
Okay. Great. Yeah.
Any questions?
I don't think so. Going forward, is this like how we're going to meet every week now, or?
It'll be, I think there's going to be another lecture a week from tonight, but not on Tuesday, because we're having a guest lecturer.
Oh, okay. Yep.
And I think we'll only have one more lecture after that. And then it'll be Thanksgiving week, and then it'll be Hell Week. And then you'll be presenting the following week. So the next 5 weeks are going to fly.
Okay.
Cool?
Sounds good.
All right, we'll talk to you. Thanks
a lot.
Eric. Uh-huh. Hey.
Hi, Mark.
How are you?
I'm better. How?
Good. I was on campus yesterday.
I was not.
You weren't.
No. I had so I've been sharing a car this week.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember the days when Tracy and I had one car when we first got married, and so we had to carpool all the time. And then, how did that work? We bought a house in 94 in Royal Oak here, and we drove in together every day, and we drove home together every day, and we did that for 2 years. And that actually was kind of fun. I enjoyed that. I miss that. We don't do that anymore.
I don't mind it, but it's been definitely a change. Used to having my own vehicle. So.
Right. Okay. So Courtney, the elephant in the room is your project. I get you to finish this project.
I've actually got. I'm just going to keep asking questions, but question this week, and most of it's in Revit now, and plans and everything. So
Praise the Lord.
Yeah, it's coming together. I just talked with
Good.
Ash. He's like 20 feet from me right now in studio.
He's what, right there?
Yeah, he's right there. But he's yes. But I had some questions about what was due last week and that I should have 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I want you I want you to I want you to use the time between now and Tuesday to execute the work that we needed you to do for last week.
Right.
Because if you don't do that, you'll be woefully behind, because I just finished writing the program, the final assignment, program brief this morning. I sent it to Ash. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Okay, so I sent it to Ash this morning so that he could review it. I'm waiting to hear back from him, for the thumbs up, and I'm going to share it with you tomorrow morning.
Okay.
It looks at the next 5 weeks and gives you some additional and new requirements to pursue, but not a lot of not a lot of new things. But it does offer, within several of the new and existing categories, it does offer options to do kind of extra credit stuff. Able to, especially you, because of where your last mark was, to do that extra credit to help bump your grade up, right? But if you spend the next 5 weeks working on things that we needed you to have last week, and you won't be able to have time for the extra credit stuff, that's going to be a problem. So that's why I want you to move forward on where you needed to be last week, this week, so that when you get the program brief tomorrow, you can look ahead and you can say, okay, I think I can do this option and this option, or just this option, or these 3 options, because I'm kind of already good at those things, right? So, and there's several options, and they're kind of all over the place. So I feel like the options afford something for everybody to plug into, because everybody wants a higher grade. I remember those days. So my way of like incentivizing you to do something you're familiar with or good at, or maybe you're in a place with your grade, for instance, where you don't need the options, so you want to try something you haven't done before. So this menu gives you all that opportunity.
Gotcha.
Does that help?
Yeah.
Okay. What else do you want to talk about?
Okay. I read through our, what's it called? The Studio Companion, and that's a godsend.
Yeah.
Occupancy, I guess I'm still unclear. Are we approaching it as one occupancy, split it because of the mixed use?
No, it's a mixed use building. It's a residential building, maybe first and foremost. But I think if you go back and look at the the sheet that I left you, that was the code study for our design for this site, you can assume that is the prevailing occupancy of the building.
Okay.
You remember that? I actually gave you guys the 2436 code study of our building on this property. So I would go back and look at that more carefully. I would also look at Joshua's, and I would look at Lynn's, and I would look at Alex's code analysis. Those are pretty good.
Okay. That's helpful. And then as for like the HVAC system, I about this, but there was a couple of things that he wasn't sure about. So for like the retail spaces and some of the VAV, central, that I wasn't sure about for the units, if or a split package. The package seems, I don't know. Yeah,
so there's 2 things that you can look at. One is in the shared drive for this class. I left you all a document.
Oh, yeah, that long one.
Yeah, it's a big file that talks a little bit about. Is this it? it just talks about how to approach mechanical systems and mechanical design in mixed-use buildings. It's in Module 1 research, I think.
Okay, I remember that.
Yeah, Brush Park, Mark Farlow, and it's called SES, Multi-Tenant Residential Mechanical Electrical Code Design Guidelines. So that's a really good source for you. The second thing is you got to talk to Ashmore about this question, because I don't know it as well as he knows it. The third thing is that in our building for this site, we use Magic Packs, which is a heating and cooling furnace in a closet on the skin of the building, in the living room usually, that relies on fresh air intake and exhaust louvers that punctuate the skin. But it allows individual control. It's an affordable product, and it has minimal ductwork requirements. So our owners have liked that approach.
Is that the
so you have one system, right? The Magic Pack for all of the res units, and then you have a different strategy for the common areas on each of the res floors, like corridors, stairways, community or amenity spaces. And then you have a same system or a slightly different system for first floor retail spaces, community spaces or amenity spaces, and back of house spaces. All of which would be broken into zones.
Right. Okay. Making like 20 times more sense than it did a week ago. So
yes.
That's
Yep.
I think those are my biggest. So.
Okay. Well, I don't think I can share anything else with you, but if you do press on the sort of requirements that we had on the grade sheet for benchmark 2 this weekend and up to Tuesday, and you resubmit, confident that you've tackled all of those 5 issues, Courtney, I will review the grade.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Because I don't want you to have that grade Are you still there? Good. So I don't want you to have that grade on my grade sheet for you for the whole semester. I'd like to overwrite that grade, but I can't overwrite that grade unless you resubmit. And that means you got to press this weekend and do it and do that work in earnest. Okay.
Yep.
And if you do that, you're going to be in really good shape on Tuesday to hit the ground running.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you for that.
So are you accepting that offer? Are you accepting that deal?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I wasn't expecting
Excellent.
that.
That's all I needed to hear.
Had accepted that grade already, but I'm going to accept this offer because that's great. the grade was not great, but I think it was fair given where you were, but it doesn't have to stay. And the nature of this particular studio in terms of the basic requirements, the technical requirements that I've created for it, anticipated with 12 students
two of which I think I knew before I walked into this pool. I mean, I had to anticipate a couple of people having issues, right?
Mhm.
So part of the reason why I had all of you push so hard so early compared to like Professor Dan's studio, it allowed for this kind of thing to be mitigated, okay?
I see that. Yeah. What
Cool.
we had due last week is due today for them.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So it all comes out in the wash, and if you remember, the syllabus looks at you know, the research module, the benchmark 1 module, the benchmark 2 module, the benchmark 3. All of those are 20% each, right? So that's only 80%. So the last 20% is based on the trajectory of an individual. It's based on, you know, all these intangible things like class participation, leading the conversation at desk crits, coming with questions, coming up with ideas, all of that sort of lovely stuff. But also, right, these options. So my studio, Dan's does not, but my studio has these options. And it's in the pursuit of those options that I can apply that 20% to you. So there's still hope for your D+ in terms of getting you to resubmit, and B, in terms of the options. All right.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I'm trying to encourage you.
Right. Well, thank you.
Because I feel like I'm talking to the next member of the AIA board.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the goal.
Yeah. So I want you to remember. I want you to remember me when you become really, really important.
Okay.
That's all I got for you.
All right. I'll email with anything else.
Okay. Thanks. And I'm around this weekend if you want to
Thank you.
talk.
Great. All right. Bye.
Hey, Andrew, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Fine, thanks. I may need to bump you because I forgot to talk to Alex ahead of you. You're actually the last person tonight, and I just realized that, so I just invited her. How are you? So, fine, thanks. Yeah, so she's here, so I got to bump you. Okay, Alex. So give me about 20 minutes, okay? 30 minutes, 20, 30. I'll re-invite you. Thank you. Hey, Alex, how are you?
Hey, Mark. I'm sick.
How are you tonight? You're not well?
No. But
What did I tell you? What did I tell you at the beginning of the semester? Don't get sick.
Sorry, I lost you for a second there.
What did I tell you at the beginning of the semester?
I don't remember this morning, Mark.
Don't get sick.
Yeah, well, the temperature decided differently.
Yeah, so you're sitting in a different space tonight, and behind you, right behind you,
Yeah, it's my
is
collage.
a photo board of several Sarah Keller pictures.
Yeah, she's right. It's her birthday today.
It was Sarah's birthday today?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, no, I didn't realize that. Oh,
Yeah.
no, because the lady she sits next to, Jessica, it was her birthday today, too.
Oh, really?
Shoot.
That's so weird.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
Yeah, she turned 24 today.
Oh, my gosh. I don't know that I've got her. I do. Here we go. Let me do this happy birthday thing.
Okay, yeah, no, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah,
okay.
No problem.
So, okay. So I'm gonna do kind of like 2 or 3 things tonight.
Sure.
With you. One, kind of a high level perspective on things, and then some in the weeds conversations about what's happening next,
Cool.
and then give you a chance to kind of react to what happened last week.
Okay. Yeah.
But Alex, from the high level perspective, you made a really significant in this last benchmark, because you went up to an A- in this benchmark from the B+ that you had in benchmark 1. So congratulations on that. And I feel like the hard work that you put into this is paying dividends for you. And also, and I hope you appreciate this, the clarity of your building design and kind of the simplicity of it. And I mean that as a compliment, actually, right? The straightforwardness of the building design lended itself. I mean, you took advantage of that in this benchmark to embroider the design, to talk about the design through the different lenses that we asked you for this benchmark to talk about it. So you got the assignment, and you leveraged the design of the building that you came up with early on in benchmark 1 to the full extent that you could for this benchmark. So that was a really good instinct on your part, and I just want to commend you for that.
Thank you.
Now, of course. So now the other thing is that what all did I say in my write up to you? What did Caitlin say, and what do you remember Ash saying in his review? Can you remind me?
Yeah. I just had them pulled up.
Because I'm looking at your drawings right now.
Yeah, one sec. I wrote like a summary of all of them, but I can pull up what you specifically said. Okay. So your words. You said that the diagrams were excellent and a solid lead into the actual plates. That I needed a site plan, which is on my list. That my building section was really strong and informative. I need to illustrate exit route on the roof plan with assembly spaces, kind of going along with my occupancy general thing. And then I need to add a plate describing what I understand about my client for my final presentation. If I can continue to keep doing these improvements over the next 6 weeks, then I'll be all right, pretty much.
Good. Well, I think that's true.
And then, do you want to hear the other ones before we get talking more?
Yeah.
And then Caitlin said that I need to focus on my pedestal roof system, integrating possibly a green roof, figuring out how my elevator is going to terminate at the roof, pretty much any kind of termination at the roof level, which I agree with too. And then she brought up the really good point about the interior shading system, the relevancy of having all of it be glass when I'm putting an opaque barrier on the outside of it.
Right.
You know, makes perfect sense.
Yeah. I mean, could that be accomplished with like paint, for example? Right.
Or like
I'm just spitballing here, but I mean that would have a value engineering target all over it.
Right. So, very good point. And then Nancy wanted to know more about my HVAC, like what specific type of system I was proposing, and in accordance with my layout. And then she liked my enclosure, and then she just recommended figuring out all the occupant loads, which I knew about, and then she just said excellent.
And so then Ash probably had issues with the section.
I have issues with the sections.
Okay.
I know I'm gonna change from my terracotta anyway, so I have to redo them anyway, and I'll meet with him to go over it because I know they weren't good, and I was very well aware of that. So
yeah, that is actually the
I'm not worried about it, you know.
Yeah. No, I know you're not, but honestly, that is the weak link in your presentation, the last plate.
I agree.
And it didn't hurt you. It didn't keep you out of the A category, but it didn't allow you to be an A.
Right. No, I agree with that.
Okay, and then let me just go over a couple of things.
Yeah, go ahead.
The stair at D2, David 2. Like, well, the stair at B5, it doesn't have like a like a thermal break between the drive aisle and the parking realm and the elevator stair realm. But you may want that. You may want a wall between the elevator and the stairway. Now you won't want to swing a door necessarily into that space because you don't have a lot of room to have a door open, a traditional door, but maybe you would do like a supermarket door, like an automatic slider that one would slide open and close back on itself. Because Alex, when you're in a space like that and you park your car, you want to be able to use like a key fob to get into to get into a slightly safer space, which would be the realm of the stair and the elevator for one thing. And also you'll want that space to be thermally treated
Right.
because that's an elevator shaft. You remember what Michigan is like weather-wise.
Yes, I do.
And then Alex, I would try to reconfigure the parallel parking spaces so that the car parks as close to the column at A4 as possible and as close to the elevator at 5 as possible. Because those spaces those are nasty spaces. They work, but what has to happen is that the space along 5 has to be able to back all the way up to the wall, the south wall.
Yeah. So to shift them over.
Right. And you know, the ramp could be 24 feet wide and work. I'm not saying change the width of the ramp, but I am saying that you might be able to do an airlock at the stairway at D2. I don't know that you're going to have the room for it.
Okay, I can look into it.
You're going to need almost 6. You're going to need about 6 feet in order for that to happen, but it might be worth looking at.
Okay.
Or, I mean, I don't know what the distance is between column D and the end stripes along column E. I don't know what that distance is, but maybe the door could go out the north wall of the stairwell. Actually, that stairwell door opens. Those swing in. Those stair doors swing in. You actually don't show the door.
No, I don't think I do on this one.
So on that stairway, you want it to swing in, and you want it to come in off of the north wall of that stairway.
I have 26 feet on the other side of that, by the way.
Yeah, so that could get packed out if it needed to for some reason.
Okay, I'll drop that guy in here.
Other couple of cars on D3.
Yeah, I think I'd probably fit 2 more.
You've got an 18-foot one dimension. That's really supposed to be 20 feet when you're doing perpendicular. But what is the distance between that and column D? That 18.1.
There is. Yeah, there's 26.9 between the edge of that 18 and the stairway door that is plopped in.
So if you only needed 20 feet in that drive aisle that runs parallel to column line E, you might be able to slip 2 more spaces in there.
Cool.
Right? Or maybe slide those 2 parking rows at 3 and 4. Just move those south just a little bit to give you the room you need to add those 2 parking spaces in the corner, because I think those are kind of nasty. Is to do, Alex, on column 5, do angled spaces that are coming in.
Oh, in that corner
behind the elevator. Yeah, just do 2 or 3 there and call it a day. Sort of like you did at the top by D5.
Yeah.
Just copy and slide down, and that's what I would do.
Okay.
I wouldn't do the parallel parking there.
Okay. Easy fix.
Okay, on the first level, it's kind of there's some line work and things like that are kind of distracting. Generally speaking, your graphics are good, but I feel like this plan is maybe too like the parking realm is not really clear cut.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, I need to do
feel
like
like
a site
you need
plan.
to do a proper site plan.
Yeah.
I love the arrows, but Alex, maybe you know how like Joshua did line work that was a series of like red dots?
Yeah, I remember that.
Maybe those arrows that indicate penetration and connectivity, right? Maybe those, maybe that's the way you do those. Like, and maybe you do them in a color like you do on your first plate.
Mm-hmm.
And the arcade and garden, it's really not an arcade or a garden area because you don't really show me the arcade and you don't really show me the garden. It's just a label. So I feel like you need to.
That's why I need a site plan.
Yeah, you need to articulate what those edges and boundaries are, and what are the programs or features or amenities, furniture, trees, fountains, bike racks, paving patterns, and then on and on and on. Where are those things in the drawing that help give a weight, right, to what you're asking to show there?
I think that's really important with like the context of everything else around, like a large site plan and then a small one.
Yep. And you're gonna want to call out the other street. You're gonna want to call out Alfred Street. You call out John R., but you want to kind of call out Alfred, and you're gonna want to call out the alley too.
Mm-hmm.
Alex, your color coding is also slipping on these sheets. If you go to the second floor plan and you look at the stairway and the elevator and the mechanical room there, you see how the yellow color of the unit creeps into the stairway and the mechanical shaft?
Yeah. Mostly
the orange,
suggested.
Go ahead.
Like making spaces in Revit and then color coding those so they shift with like my room boundary lines, and then I don't have to like graphically do it every time to avoid little nuances like that.
Well, I'm looking at the third floor. It's even worse.
Yeah.
So maybe you take these into Adobe or some sort of Illustrator and post process them so that the colors are color blocked to the architecture.
Yeah. That'd be a better idea.
What else do I want to go over with you? Is there a roof on this beast?
Yeah.
Or is this open?
There was like
enclosed atrium.
Yeah, there's a glass covered. You can kind of see.
So I need a pathway from the roof terrace to the stairs and the elevator.
Mm-hmm.
That needs to be some sort of deck-like surface, just like the roof terrace. Okay, so just like the roof terrace will need, and I'm gonna need to enclose the stair and elevator block up here,
right,
like you proposed to do downstairs.
In the basement, which I started.
Okay.
Doing. Yeah. Enclosure.
I think also, I really do enjoy the architecture that you're proposing here. It's modern and it's contemporary and all of those good things. They're beautifully drawn, right? And you're waiting for the shoe to drop, right? You're waiting for me to say but, right?
You can say it. Go ahead.
But maybe you need and I like the scale of them because it's kind of the scale of the plan. So I'm not talking, they don't have north arrows on them for one thing, off of your template on the elevations and sections. But one thing that maybe, one thing you maybe want to do is do like a street wall elevation along John R. and another street wall elevation, Alex, along Alfred Street, so that we see the building in context.
Right. Yeah.
So on Alfred, you show something from City Modern on the left, and then something like the historic house on the right.
On the right. Yeah, I think
And you might be able to fit both of those street wall elevations on one sheet.
I think like context in general is something I'm really going to delve into to help all that out.
Yeah, in fact, you are you in our graduate program?
I'm taking this as a graduate level, but I don't really know what I'm doing for graduate school yet.
Oh, so you're not actually.
I'm like in it, but I don't know. It's like a weird in between.
So are you? So
thing.
are you? Do you have a degree right now from Lawrence?
I have my interior, but not my architecture, because this is the class I needed. But I'm taking the grad level, not the undergrad level.
Okay.
I don't know.
This is like, it's giving me a migraine, but.
Me and Jade talked a long time about it.
Uh-huh.
And that's what she told me to do. So technically it's going towards my undergrad.
Yeah, but it could also work for your graduate. So, I mean, I'm not, I don't even know who our grad students are. So you're not getting different content from me if you're an undergraduate or a graduate student. So in that way, I like that. But what I was about to say then, assuming you were a grad student, for example, and assuming you were going to go into the next round of classes like Critical Practice and Advanced Design Studio 1 and 2, which those are the two classes that I typically teach until I met you, is that context is a really, 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 really bloody important thing for you to be talking about in your drawings. So I want you to hear it from me today, so that no one can say later on, didn't Mark ever tell you that you needed to draw this building in context? So you know that I think it's really important. And this is an historic context, and it's a sensitive one. So, context is a real big thing. And maybe there's like yet another wonderful Alexandra diagram that has yet to be drawn by you, that builds on or is the precursor to the street elevation drawing I was just talking about. Maybe there's like horizontal datums of the existing context that's like informing your building, like, you know, and you're drawing those like lipstick lines in yellow and green that you are so good at doing. Right? Maybe there's another drawing that shows the larger sort of geometric order or the sort of contextual datums and reference lines that you're deriving your work from. So maybe that can happen. And which leads me to my next point, is that I spent the last couple of days, Alex, writing the last program brief, and I sent it off to Ash this morning for him to look at, to sign off on, just like I've done with everything else that I've written. And I told him I want to release it tomorrow, if not sooner, so that you can start to look at it, because you're in good shape, Alex, for this semester. And so here's the thing: there are a few new things that you need to do for the last assignment, and there's more information about the things that you kind of have already done for the last assignment. And here's the third thing: in almost every category, whether new or existing, there's an option. There's like an add alternate. There's something else you can do that would be for extra credit.
Ooh.
That and because it happens to occur within many of the categories, there's kind of something for everyone. And since your grade is kind of on the cusp between an A- and a B+, I want you to look hard at doing one or two of those options, or as many as you can budget in your time that's remaining. There's really something for everyone, and they're not all equal in their time commitment, because I don't know what you're good at. For instance, like I can imagine like Eric or Josh or Lynn, for example, delving into the ASHRAE ComCheck program.
Yeah.
And that's one of the extra credit things. I can imagine them. I'll wait till you get back.
Am I back? Can you hear me?
Okay, I can imagine them chewing that up and spitting it out and saying, bring it on, right?
Yeah, totally.
But maybe someone else who's not so good at that or never even heard of it and doesn't even understand it would take a long time for them. So that's why I picked so many categories, and that's why I picked them the way that I did. So there could be something for you in there. There may be a couple of things in there for you to do, but it's a way to take advantage of the time that's remaining to do the things you need to do the new things you need to do, and to get some extra points to improve your grade along the way. Because every milestone, the research, benchmark 1, benchmark 2, benchmark 3, they're all 20%, right?
Yeah.
20 times 4 is 80. So the last 20% is, preparedness in the studio sessions, in these sessions, and the optional sort of credits that you can get in this last benchmark. So it's there for the taking.
Cool.
All right. And
Yep.
I know Professor Dan is not doing that. So this is something that I think distinguishes our section from maybe his section.
Well, thank you for providing that.
Sure. You don't need it, but you'd be kind of
I tend to take
pardon me,
advantage
foolish
of those
for not
things.
taking it. Right. Okay. So that's kind of all I got, I think. I guess, for you, Alex, I can't really remember from you any, someone's calling me. I gotta shut that off. Let me go back to your first presentation. Yeah, I haven't really seen any like 3D perspective views of this building in terms of rendered things in context with people and buses and street lights and buildings next door and down the street, horizon lines. You've seen Lynn start to delineate renderings. So I haven't really seen that output from you yet. And I want you to know that that's a requirement in the upcoming thing. I just hope that you're comfortable doing that.
Yeah, no, I am.
Because I think, because I just haven't seen that yet. Okay.
Yeah, I've been assigning materials and stuff as I've been making my models. I just haven't felt fully comfortable enough to put out a full one yet, so I haven't.
Okay.
But no, I'm very well aware of that coming.
Okay, good. So then I'm going to let you go. Good. I'm going to let you go and keep working. I think the last thing I'd say is that you know, it's really impressive that you're studying both architecture and interiors, just like our mutual friend Sarah, and I just really sort of value the clarity of your work and how straightforward it is, and yet how detailed it is. So this is, I think this sort of design strategy for you serves you very well.
Thank you.
All right.
Yep.
Keep plowing along.
I will. Thank you, Mark.
Okay, I'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you later. Bye-bye now.
Hey, Andrew, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Excellent. How are you? What's going on tonight?
Not much, just sitting at home.
Okay. Where do you live again? You live on campus?
I live off campus at Arbor Lofts. It's like less than a mile away.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, just on Civic Center there, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I know where you are. Peter Stuhlreier designed those.
Oh, I don't know who. So.
Yeah, he's from Rochester. He's got a couple of kids from Lawrence Tech working for him. He's a Cincinnati Bearcat graduate. I did not know him in school. He was there a little after I was, but that's where he's from. Okay, so couple of things, I guess, I want to go over. Let's see. Why isn't your stuff thawing? It's only 17 plates. There's I think you know, there's a general sort of consistency about your work that I think is really important, and I value that. I appreciate how kind of solid you've been all semester long, and how, you know, I'm getting the sense that you're enjoying this project, and I hope that's the case. I also feel like there are some aspects of the project that you're really like comfortable with and producing really solid results with. But I also think that there's some aspects, sections, for example, that are maybe that's a little tougher for you to sort of deal with. I know it was that way with me when I was at this point in my education. And so there are some things like that that you're kind of working through and developing that kind of technical muscle. And this class, I hope, gives you the opportunity to sort of enhance that skill set. So I think there's something I would say, and that is that there's definitely room for improvement in your work. But, you know, given the grade marks that you've had along the sort of course of this semester, it's been a really solid effort. So there's nothing to be frustrated about or ashamed of. And yet at the same time, I'd love to see you in the next 5 weeks bear down on this final assignment, which you're going to get tomorrow, and really try to hit it out of the park. And here's how I think you can do that. The final assignment will have sort of 3 things happening in it. One is it will give you some additional requirements for things you've already done. It will give you some new categories that you need to do or address. And then in almost all of the new and old requirements, the new requirements and the old requirements that comprise this deliverable, there's an option. So there's several options, actually, Andrew, kind of one for almost everyone. And it it's an option that's in addition to the requirement. So it's not a replacement. It's not like, can I have onion rings instead of French fries? It's not like that. It's, you got to do the requirements, but you don't have to do the option. But there's so many of them, and they have such range that I got to believe that a few of them are things that you can do. And if you do them, you get extra credit for them. Because the first 4 milestones or the first 4 modules that comprise this class are 20% each, right? Class research, module 2, which was benchmark 1, module 3, which was benchmark 2, the final benchmark, that's 80%. So there's 20% left in this class grade that's attributable to intangible things like, does Andrew come to class prepared? You know, is Andrew in the conversations like we're having right now? Did Andrew do the extra credit, and did he do it well? And how many extra credits did he do? You know, I'm going to kind of take stock of all of those things and let that 20% influence the earlier grades, right? You know, there's so much, Andrew, that's required of me and you in this course that I felt like, you know, creating these options, which is something that Dan Farrow's class doesn't have, but creating these options allows you to do something maybe you can do easily and quickly and accurately and get an easy extra credit for example. Or maybe it's something you've heard about and believe you can do, and even though you've never done it before, now's the time to do it, so do it. You know what I mean? So it's my way of letting you do something out of the constraints that this class is clearly defined by, and at the same time benefit the work that you've done up to now. So I wrote that. I spent the last few days writing that, and I shared it with Ash this morning, like I've done with all of the material that has been the basis of our course. And I told him that I want to release it tomorrow, but I want his feedback, you know. And so look for that tomorrow and pay real close attention to it. Make sure that, you know, you print it and tape it up on the wall in your studio, and make sure you draw highlights on things that are, you know, maybe that you've done, red line under things that you haven't done, green lines on things that you got to do yet. That you need to like really take it apart, make sure that it's the roadmap for the next 6 weeks, because the next 6 weeks are going to fly by, and there's not going to be a lot of contact between you and me. Here's why: because next week we have a regular session, but the group session is on Thursday, and we have a lecture. The following week is, if I'm not mistaken, a regular week. Yep. And then the week of the 21st is a light week because of Thanksgiving. The following week is Hell Week. And then pencils down is December 5th. So 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks and a couple of days are left when you kind of put it all together. And during Hell Week, you aren't going to see me unless you need me, right? So you're going to be running on your own pace, right? From here on in. I'm available, but I'm just trying to like prepare you and cue this up in terms that you'll appreciate, okay?
Okay.
Cool. Do you have any questions about anything that Ash said, or the critics, or me?
At the moment, I don't think so.
Okay.
Trying to go through all the notes I wrote. I guess the thing I know I have to work on is the elevations, and then getting the egress handicap and all of those stuff that I didn't really have too much in there.
The elevations are pretty cool. They're just not elevations right now. They're kind of a design concept for an elevation. They got to have, you know, the horizontal floor lines. They got to have the dimension strings, the column lines, but they can have this color. And I think you need mullions in the windows so that you show fixed windows and operable windows. And, you know, you got to you got to make those things real drawings. But as a cartoon for a drawing, it's a pretty cool drawing. And I think your sections need a lot of work. And so some of the technical things that, like the sections and the egress stuff, you'll want to work through with Ash or me. And I'm around this weekend, and I'm not going anywhere until, you know, till next year. So take advantage of my time, okay?
Okay. I know the wall section. I met with them before I got to where I'm at now. So
great. Well, keep drawing, and then keep having him check it. Even if you can't meet with him, send it to him so he can red mark it like a project architect would. Okay.
Okay.
But keep flying, and again, just touch base with me if you need me along the way. We're going to have more desk crits, but at each desk crit that we've got remaining, and there's probably only just a couple left, you're really going to need to, like, you know, I've done this, I'm doing this, I'm going to be doing this. You know, you need to lead that discussion. I'm just going to be there to make sure you're touching on everything that you need to be doing. Okay.
Okay.
That's all I got.
All right.
Hang in there, and we'll talk soon. All right.
Yep. Sounds good.
Okay, Andrew. Thank you.
Thank you.